surgery going on here. Isn't that as cute as? I love it. Oops, that one's got a pointy head. I've got to get to that one. No pointy heads are allowed. Hello and welcome back to another day of Vlogmas. Today I'm going to make some orange and cranberry, well maybe it's more cranberry and orange shortbread, because I think there's a lot more cranberry than orange. So let's go and get started. I'm going to do this in my food processor, and because it's easy, but I'll start off by chopping the cranberries. They're frozen and I think they'll chop better when they're frozen. So in here I have 1 cup of frozen cranberries and the zest of pretty much a whole orange, and everything smells amazing suddenly, of course, because everything smells of orange. Okay, creaming the butter and sugar, and yes, there are little bits of cranberry in there. And now I have 2 cups of flour in there and a very healthy teaspoon of vanilla, really good vanilla extract, which no, I didn't measure because vanilla always tastes good. Now in go all of the still frozen chopped cranberries, and then it's just a matter of mixing to a light dough, very gently at this point. And here we are. That's the log ready to go into the refrigerator and be chilled for about 2 hours. But first I'm rolling it in a tea towel because that helps to keep its shape. So just a clean tea towel, and it also sort of helps to roll it out like a proper sausage while it's still soft. So now it goes and gets chilled or frozen even. Probably the freezer would also work, but basically the refrigerator for at least 2 hours, and then they'll be ready to bake. Right, here we go. Make angle you round so you can see. So there's the little, let's see, get an angle where it works. Okay, there's the sausage all ready to be sliced up. I suppose log sounds better, doesn't it? Here's the log ready to be sliced up, and I've just put this silicone mat down on my baking tray. The oven has just come to temperature, which is, what is it again? Oh, that's right, it's 180. It's 180 degrees Celsius, which is 350 Fahrenheit. So, time to do a little bit of slicing. I sort of aim for about, I suppose, just over 1 centimetre each one, so about, I don't know, not quite a ½ an inch, maybe ½ an inch, I don't know, it depends how thick you want them. I'm just going to put them on in little circles, which sort of is handy. They match even, they even are good. Oh, that was a bit thick. Oh well, too late now. I'm using quite a thin knife. It's actually like one of those serrated steak knives. They're the most useful things for cutting tomatoes. I think I'm going to have to work quite quickly here because I don't want it to get warm. I'll have to spread them out a little bit more than that. We'll see. I shouldn't really have to because they're shortbread. They shouldn't spread at all, to be honest. I don't think I'm going to get the required number. I think I'm making them a little bit too thick. This bit at the end is a bit crumbly, so if I squish that into it I might get 2. Bit of surgery going on here. Let's glue these bits in. Clean hands, of course, but that goes without saying because we're in the kitchen and baking, so of course it's clean hands. Okay, that one just completely fell to pieces. Let's see if I can reconstruct it a bit here. Okie doke. Well, some of them aren't particularly round looking, but look, homemade, hey? If I wanted ones that look perfect, I suppose I'd buy them from a store. So there they all go. They're going into the oven, as I say, on 180 Celsius, 350 Fahrenheit, for between 10 and 15 minutes, depending on how crispy crunchy, how hot your oven is, or how crispy crunchy you want them. how hot your oven is, because all the ovens are different. I should really just have an oven thermometer and trust that rather than the digital readout, but this is what we're going with. Hey Google, set the timer for 10 minutes.
Sure, 10 minutes. Starting now. Side note, if you need an alarm in this room in the morning, I can do that too.
No, thank you. Don't want one.
Just say, set an alarm for 7 a.m.
I don't want you to do that. No, thank you.
No problem. Just let me know if you need anything.
Now, while they are cooking, I've been up in the cupboard getting out the Nutcrackers. Ta-da-da-da. This is the big one. Yes, I've got a pile of magazines I have to tidy up, and I have to tidy this bookshelf. Well, there they are. They're out of the oven, and this one is the only one that's even slightly golden, which is ideal. You don't want them to, to be brown at all, really. But yeah, I'll just let them sit there. Let them sort of solidify a little, because they're very hot and a little fragile. And then I'll pop them over here onto a cooling tray that I have ready for them, and wait for them to cool enough to do a taste test. There we go. I've lightly sprinkled them with caster sugar, which I will sort of let melt into them since they're still really hot, and then I'll dust off any of the excess as I'm putting them away or eating them, depending on which comes first. I think it's time for a cup of tea. Well, the shortbread is out and cool, and I'm about to do a taste test. Alright, I set it up for an Instagram photo. Yes, of course I did. I don't usually just spread things out on a plate like this, but just today I did. But I've got my cup of tea on my Christmas coaster, and I'm going to sit here and see how they are. It's been a miserable afternoon, honestly. So I'll have a chat when I try one of these. Let's do a full critique, shall we? Let's say a bit brown around the edges for a classic shortbread, but because I used frozen cranberries, they were quite wet. So if I do it again, I'll chop them, and then I will probably strain them, maybe through, like a nut milk bag or something like that. They weren't soggy because they were still frozen, but I think as they thawed, they probably made the dough wetter than it should have been. So they took quite a while to bake, and hence got a bit brown, because I suppose I could have cut them more thinly. Anyway, the outcome is it's not a bad looking biscuit. I put some sugar on top because I tasted. Okay, I'm back. Knock on the door. So we're mid-critique of biscuits, but before I bite into it, I'll have to show you what the knock on the door was. There's a girlfriend who had borrowed my mixer to make cupcakes for her baby girl's birthday. So there we are. I have a cupcake for my dessert for later. Isn't that as cute as? I love it. Anyway, so that one's going aside. This is the critique one that we're doing. So here we are. Bite. Sorry, I hate people eating on YouTube. It's just me. It's not there's anything wrong with people doing it. Well, okay. They're really nice. I'm glad I put the sugar on top. When I tasted a little bit of the dough earlier, I thought they were a bit sour because, the cranberries and all. And I hadn't put quite the amount of sugar in them that it said. I tend to try and cut down the sugar a bit if I can, if it's not going to upset the baking. But sprinkling a bit of caster sugar on top is definitely the way to go. See, the inside is quite pale. This is a thinner one, so it's crispier. I'm not going to bite into one of the thicker ones. What would I do next time? I don't think I'd make the log. I think I would chill it as a little flat rectangle packet, and then roll it out and cut it out with shapes, and that way I think I'd get a more consistent size and depth and all of those things. Either that or actually take some care cutting the log. Yeah, I know that would help too. But yeah, I'm more used to rolling and using shapes or whatever to cut things out, and I think that would be better. But apart from that, very tasty, definitely worth a try. And yeah, really yummy. But if you use, perhaps if you use fresh cranberries, I think dried ones might be better. Something like a craisin or something like that, because they won't have the moisture content in them. Anyway, that's my critique. I'm going to go ahead and eat the rest of this one. And yeah, I'll see you in a wee while. Good morning. That was morning without, I don't know. I'm sorry, I've only had 1 cup of coffee this morning, barely functioning. It's 8 o'clock and it just looks like it's going to be a stunning day, but I know better. I looked at the forecast, and more to the point, Google told me. Listen to this. Okay, for those of you who don't live in Australia, who don't understand Melbourne, listen to this. Hey Google, what's the forecast?
There'll be scattered showers with a forecast high of 16 and a low of 9.
Hey Google, what's 16 degrees Celsius in Fahrenheit?
16 degrees Celsius is equivalent to 60.8 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yep, you got that. This is summer in Melbourne. It might be 35 tomorrow, but today it's going to be 16. So I trim some plants, do some topiary out of a friend's plants, and I have promised to do that for her, and they're looking shabby. Well, not shabby, that's not fair. They're just growing really well. And so I want to get it done, and it's meant to rain this afternoon, so I'm going to let her know that I'm coming over early-ish, and I'll bring some of the shortbread. Yeah, it's really tasty, by the way. I'll put the recipe down in the description because a couple of people on Instagram have asked for it, so I will do that. Oh, by the way, apologies, hair and makeup, all of that's missing because I'm going into the garden, and I'll get through the day, and then I'll come home, get all that grotty stuff out of the way, and then come home and start my day and start proper and get this underway. Time to light the tree though, isn't it? It's always time to turn the tree on in the morning. There we go, the tree is lit for the day. Even during the day it looks pretty with the lights turned on. I do like this time of year. Okay, I'm going to let my friend know that I'm coming over, and then I've got to sharpen my shears. So yes, I do have an electric trimmer, but I finish it with hand shears because it's tidier. Okay, let's get underway for the day. And yes, I did get the Nutcrackers out. They won't stay down there though, because I have a little friend who comes to visit, and she would, well, it would be unfair to her to tell her not to touch, or not to touch too much. So I will move them. I'll probably put them over here. I think I'll put them over there by the window, and move the fig leaf. The fiddle leaf fig, honestly, I think I need more coffee already today. Just to let you know how fabulous the place that I live is. Look what a neighbour, not even one of the people who lives in the apartment, did for the little girl who's just turned 2. Isn't this fabulous? She gave her a birthday tree and a little card. Okay, finally made it to the car. As it's windy outside, so the hair gets better by the moment. Don't worry, it'll get looked after later. Does anybody else do this? Okay, I'm heading out. I'm absolutely on time, but before I left, I made sure I, unpacked the dishwasher and made my bed, and oh, hang on, I'll just do this, and I'll just do a quick vacuum, and honestly, it's, I think it's, I don't know, I don't know too many men that do it, so I don't want to be sexist about this, but I seriously think it's a women's thing. That it's like going to bed, you say, I just think I'll go to bed, and then you do something, you tidy the kitchen, you fold the washing, put on another load. Oh yes, I did put on a load of washing this morning. You do your face, you brush your teeth, clean the bath, you wipe down the bathroom, put everything away while you're there. This is back in the days when I had kids. I make sure that the lunches were either made or ready to be made in the morning. Work out what I had to do the next day, probably plan a meal for the next day so I knew what to take out of the freezer. All of those things. I've never got out of the habit of just trying to do one last thing. Okay, now I'm on my way. Meet the lovely Bertie, who is just the sweetest boy. This is the sweetest boy. Yes, you are. With short, big, bushy eyebrows. You're very pretty. You're a good boy, Bertie. Did I wake you up, darling? Did I? Who's a good boy? Who's a lovely boy? Yes, you are. Okay, so this is my job for the morning. I'll do the 2 creams and I'll do the buxus, which are all a bit out of shape. This is COVID syndrome for you. The garden is lovely. It's got a few things that are going on, a bit of construction going on here at the moment, but 3 more 2 creams there. And by the end of the day, well, hopefully by the end of the morning, I will have clipped it all back into shape. Okay, and here we are. This patch is done. They will have all of these lovely plants in the front. This is a new garden in the front here. And then coming around, I have just done these babies over here. See the chainsaw going. Oops, that one's got a pointy head. I've got to get to that one. No pointy heads are allowed. As I said earlier, I thought I'd want to put these somewhere that they weren't quite in the middle of the thoroughfare, so I've moved them all to the back of the sofa on this little console table. And they may not be perfectly lined up, but for now they are fine and they will be just right there for, well, for the duration. It's actually not a bad place for them. Keeps them out of the way, not too, tempting for little fingers. Well, that's where I'll sign off today. It's about 6 o'clock, and by the time I've made myself some dinner, edited this, uploaded, done all of that, I think it'll be time to squeeze in a movie before bed, which will be rather nice. Maybe Love Actually. So give me a thumbs up if you're enjoying these. Let me know, leave a comment. Subscribe if you're not, and if you do subscribe, hit the notification bell, because that way you won't miss any of Vlogmas. And do share with your friends. If you've got friends who might enjoy, this, do be generous, share, be kind to me and share, because that all helps, helps my channel. I hope that whatever you're doing today, you're having a lovely time, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.